Ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing this evening? Welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast this evening as Oxford United draw with Ipswich Town 0-0. Before you all click off because it's a 0-0 draw, there's a lot to still talk about. I promise you, we've got lots of things to discuss today because I think the most important thing to come out of this is it's a very, very difficult place to go, Portman Road. And we didn't just go there and I guess sit back or anything like that. I wouldn't say we went for a point. I actually think we went there and won, and I think we actually could have won maybe as well, which is maybe a little bit why we are slightly disappointing as Oxford United fans. For Ipswich, I think to be fair, I think at times Ipswich you could argue maybe were going for a point, but Oxford United and Ipswich do draw, and it doesn't really hinder Oxford United too much. Now, do get in the live chat as well. This is a live episode of the podcast. It's been quite a while. It's been a week since the last episode of the podcast. The last one, of course, 6 days actually, because it was the Sunday game, of course, was the last one. So do give your thoughts on the game down below as well. In the live chat and down below as well if you're watching this as a video. Also, as well, check out the recent episode of the podcast I did, which is every League One club's best player so far this season. If you haven't checked that video out, episode of the podcast out, please do that, because I really enjoyed making it, and the support on that's been absolutely incredible. But yeah, give your thoughts on this game, and subscribe if you're new as well, because it's a decent result for Oxford United today. It's a decent result for Ipswich as well. It doesn't affect Oxford too much, and Doncaster have just equalised in the 11th minute of injury time as well. So results also are going Oxford United's way, which I think is important. We are sort of looking at other results. It's not just Oxford United we're looking at. We are looking at which points are being taken or lost by other teams around us. And at the moment, Oxford United are doing okay when it comes to that, and we're doing quite well there as well. I'm just making sure the audio is okay, and I think it is. So we'll crack straight on with the game as it goes through. Obviously, there was no goals in the game. However, there were some big chances for Oxford United, and we will talk about Oxford United's big chances. Matty Taylor had a really, really good chance in the second half. But for Ipswich, you hit the post. They really, really did come to winning the game in there as well. But then so did Oxford. So in the end, I think a draw is probably quite fair. It's probably quite, in the end, quite a deserving result, and the points are even, the points are shared between two sides that had the chances, didn't take them, and definitely had a bit of an evenly matched game. And going into this game, they were 11th for Ipswich, 8th for Oxford United, and in the last 5 games, Oxford have been on really, really good form. There was the horrific game, obviously in the last game, not in the league, obviously, but in the Papa John semi-final in the midweek. We lost against Tranmere League 2 opposition. It was a very, very poor game. It was not good at all. And we needed a reaction. And did we get a reaction? Did we not get a reaction? How did it go? So to be honest with you, I'd say we got a reaction. It was much improved from Tranmere, but I don't think it could be much worse, if you know what I mean. I don't think we could have had a worse performance against Tranmere anyway. So I don't think I'd say we got an unbelievable reaction. But I wouldn't say I felt like the players didn't want to give 100%, because I think the problem was against Tranmere in midweek. We didn't even look like we wanted to win the game. We looked poor. We looked lazy at times. And today we certainly weren't that. Today we did put 100% effort in. We did try our best, but we just fell short, I guess, when it came to taking our chances. I don't mean fell short in the result, because we did. We got a 0-0 draw. We take a point away from a very, very difficult ground and a very, very good side. And going into this game, when people were speaking about, Ipswich and, about where they are on the league table and they're 11th and all that, you've got to remember, this is a side that are very, very close, just like us, to getting into the playoffs. They're only about 3 or 4 points away from the playoffs going into the game. We obviously now are 3 points away from in the playoffs now. It's a very, very close league table, pretty much from mid-table to the playoffs. It's so tight, and just 2, 3, 4 points separate them. So, saying about the form, taking form away from it, taking the last 5 games at least away from Ipswich Town, it's a very, very difficult place to go. And to get a point from Portman Road, whatever the circumstances, whatever the form, is a really, really good result. So yeah, I think we take it. I think we take the point, and we take it and we move on. I think that's the best thing. We take the point. We look at the league table and go, we didn't lose a point. Ipswich probably could have gone ahead of us. I think they probably would have gone ahead of us in the league table if they had won the game. And like I said, they had chance to do that. They hit the post on a few occasions. I think it was twice, So there was a really, really good save in there for us as well. We had a really, really good opportunity for Matty Taylor, but he hits it onto the bar. You are feeling after Taylor's disastrous Tuesday game against Tranmere that maybe, and I think he is lacking some confidence. He had a chance. I think normally 9 times out of 10, normally Matty Taylor's going to bury that with his head, and he's going to nod that in. It's going to make the net. It's going to get in the back of the net. It didn't do that today. It wasn't as simple as that. He wasn't able to do that. Sam Winnell had a really, really good chance as well. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a really good chance. I mean, he created and made it into a really, really good chance. It was a great strike from him, a really good save from the goalkeeper. And, the more you go through the game and the more we discuss it, the more you think and you sort of come across so many fantastic chances for Oxford United. And the more you just sort of feel like we maybe could have got something out of the game. But then you've also got to remember as well, Ipswich had their chances. Like I said, they hit the post. They had some really, really good chances. They like to put the ball into the box as well. And they really, really could have gone and won the game very easily, and probably should have been 1-0 at half-time to Ipswich anyway. So I think 0-0. I think Carl Robinson, from what I've seen so far, I think he seems quite happy with the point. I think the players have got to be quite understanding of the fact that it is a very, very difficult place to go. Ipswich are a very, very good side. We just got to take that. And I think as fans as well, we've got to just accept that it isn't going to be it wasn't a thrilling game, but we've got some really, really big games coming up. We've got Portsmouth on Tuesday as well, and it's things like that, it's games like that, isn't it, where I think we've got a lot to look forward to in the season. And I think today was a game where we had to get those points. We had to get that point in the end, obviously, and I think we can go away from that saying we did alright, we did okay, and we got the point. We didn't get the 3 points, but we got the point as it was as well. And you can see on the lineup now on this side of the screen, on your left, I believe it is. It was a very, very strong team. It's arguably our strongest team. Sykes comes back into the team as well, which I think is very, very interesting. We didn't know what the future of Sykes was at Oxford United. Is he a player that is surplus to requirements at Oxford United? Is he a player that isn't going to be part of Carl Robinson's plans? He's out of contract at the end of the season. Is he going to get that contract? And I think the answer is I think he's probably going the right way for it, because I think today he had a really, really good game. I thought today he was really, really good. I was really impressed with Mark Sykes today. I really, really liked Mark Sykes. I think he offers something to Oxford United. I think he really does. I think he's a really, really good player for Oxford. Really, really helpful. And yeah, he was, he get interchange with Lee and Sykes on that right hand side. Playing them back into that more defensive, deeper role. I'd say in that more attacking midfield area, in that sort of central midfield. He can interchange with Lee. He's got that in his locker. He can do that. And Lee again today, it wasn't his best game. I thought he had quite a good first half. Then got subbed off about 10 minutes into the second half. So, he was helpful in the first half. I think he is still carrying that knock. Obviously, James Henry didn't start the game as well, because I think, we know that he still got that dead leg, obviously, against Bristol. Didn't have a great game on Tranmere, but then, against Tranmere, but I don't think anyone did, really. I can't remember. I think there was any standout performances in that one, 100%. So yeah, it was one of those games really where we look at the league table. We look at the starting lineup. I think we were quite happy with it. I think it was quite a good front three, but a really, really good starting 11, and I was happy with it. Jack Stevens came back in for Eastwood, obviously, from that Papa John's semi-final defeat. We made 6 changes from that. I think we needed 6 changes because we needed a few players to sort of really understand and I think really, we'll talk about one player in particular, and that's Dan Adjie. I know he wasn't part of that Tranmere game, but where does he stand now? We see him picking the squads. We see these squads being selected by Carl Robinson, and Dan Adjie just seems to be just not really part of the plans. He obviously we know that he publicly criticised Dan Adjie after that Fleetwood game when he wasn't fit he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready to come onto the pitch. He wasn't ready at all. And then obviously he then came on and missed a sitter against Fleetwood. So he hasn't really had a great second half of the season. He hasn't had a great start to 2021, Dan Adjie, 100%. So, it wasn't great. It wasn't great for Dan Adjie. It hasn't been a great second half of the season for him. And where does he stand now? Where does he stand at Oxford United? Where do we see Dan Adjie going from here? As an Oxford United player. Please do give your thoughts in the chat down below as well. I'd be intrigued to see what you people think in the chat as well. But yeah, not a great, not an unbelievable performance, but not a bad one. I think that's the main one. Not one that we can go away from this weekend delighted about. But I think we got what we sort of deserved. I think both teams deserved a point, and that's what they both got. So I was happy with that. I'm reading through the notes now as well. I sort of made a few before the game. Dan Adjie as well. We've spoken about that. Both coming into this game with, Oxford coming into this game with better form, Ipswich coming into this game with not as great form, but again, a really, really difficult place to come. Portman Road, a really, really difficult team, Ipswich, and yes, they are 11th in the league table, but they're a good side and they can always pose a threat. But yeah, there's some interesting things that we've got to take from this game. I thought in the midfield we were quite good. I thought midfield we were okay. I thought Brannigan, Gorin, Sykes were okay. I thought Gorin, he get booked quite early on. He couldn't really play the way he always wanted to play. He obviously got taken off in the second half. To be fair to Carl Robinson, he actually went for it. He actually tried to go and push and try and go more attacking. I think sitting back was a disaster ready to happen. I think we just had to keep attacking them. They tried to play on the break. They tried to play counter-attacking football, and it was difficult. Alex says, decent result, mate. It was a decent result. I don't think it was anything spectacular. I don't think it was anything unbelievable, but like you said, it's a decent result. It's nothing great, but it's nothing very bad. It's in the middle. It's a result where we go, it's 1 point with a difficult place to go against a good opposition. It is a decent result, and I think you're spot on. It's not great, and there isn't loads and loads to sort of really talk about in the game, because we didn't really do a lot. We did sort of trying to keep we did sort of create chances, but nothing. It felt a bit like the game went really quickly, and it did. I mean, I sat down at 3 o'clock to watch the game, and before I know it, I'm sat here doing this. It feels like I haven't really watched the game. It was very, very quick the way the game went. We created chances, we didn't really take them. They created chances, and they didn't really take them. So it was one of those games, really, where it really could have gone either way. We could have been sat here talking about a defeat, and that would have been really, really disappointing. But we could have been sat here talking about a win as well. So, it swings and roundabouts. It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult to sort of, I guess, take in at times, but yeah, it was one of those things. But if you did watch the game, give your thoughts on it. We've got a few people in the chat right now. Please do leave a like if you haven't left a like already, and subscribe as well if you're new to the podcast. We recently hit 150 subscribers this week as well, so please do leave a like. 150, I think we're on 152 subscribers now, so if you haven't subscribed, please do that. And thank you everybody that has subscribed and has joined the podcast channel. As the week has gone on, like I said, the last game against Wigan was the last game in the league against Wigan that we did a podcast episode for, and then there was a really poor game in midweek that we don't really want to talk about too much. It was very, very poor. We had a chance to go to Wembley and we basically bottled it. We weren't great, and we came in here today talking about trying to get a reaction, and I think we got some sort of reaction. It wasn't an unbelievable reaction. It wasn't a 3-point reaction, but it was a point reaction. Where we sort of look back and go, we could have taken those chances, but they could have taken theirs, and it literally could have gone either way. I'm quite happy with it, but not much to talk about other than that. So I'm not going to sort of drag it on for no reason. If you did enjoy the podcast episode, please do leave a like as well and subscribe, to the podcast episode as well. But yeah, it finishes Ipswich 0, Oxford United 0 in League One. We're not out of the title race. Well, I think we might be out of the title race. We're not out of we might be out of that, but we're not out of the playoffs. Is what I meant to say. We're not out of the playoff push. We're not out of the top 6, obviously. And I wouldn't be too concerned about that. It's a point where we look back on the league table and go, we're still very much in it. And where we were at the start of the season, these points are big. We've got a big game on Tuesday against Portsmouth, a team that we don't beat, but we haven't lost to in a while as well. We don't beat them too much. I'm not going to say too much. I don't want to jinx anything, but Portsmouth are a very, very good side who are doing great things this season as well. So it's going to be a difficult game on Tuesday. And like I said, I actually said this. I think I said it a few weeks ago about Wigan, about the Wigan game, this game against Ipswich, and on the Portsmouth game. If we can come away from 7 points out of a possible 9, I think we're quite happy with that. I think we'll be quite happy with coming away, with 7 points from a possible 9, because it's games where we want to beat Wigan, and beating either one of Ipswich or Portsmouth would be a good result. If we get a point in there as well, it's not too much of a problem. But 7 out of 9 from these 3 difficult games, I think's good. When we've got some more games coming up that are going to be difficult as well, that Oxford United will need to take. So yeah, that's where we're going to wrap up this episode of the podcast. Not an extremely long one, but it's a 0-0 draw, really, isn't it? I'm not going to lie to you. It's a 0-0 draw, but not a really disappointing 0-0 draw against a team like a very, very decent, and like I said, and like I keep saying, and I'll repeat it again, it really could have gone either way. We could have been sat here talking about a defeat. We could have been sat here talking about a great win. So it goes either way. A draw's fair. And that's where I'm going to wrap up this episode of the podcast. Thank you everybody that's tuned in as well in this episode live as well. If you're watching this as a video, please do leave a like and subscribe as well. I appreciate you for watching. Anyway, it's been the Unfan Podcast. I've been Jack on Saturday night, and I'll see you in a bit. See you later.